the veteran who taught teenagers about peace. A retired sniper visited a school and talked to teenagers about his experiences in war. He wanted them to understand what it really means to be at war. These kids had no idea. At first, they thought it would be cool to talk to a sniper. However, this guy was a professional sniper who had taken many lives. It's not an easy job. You have to be able to take someone's life without having to feel guilty about it. The students were stunned by what he had to say. He told them how much pain he felt every time he pulled the trigger. Even though he was trained to kill, he was still only human. What did this veteran do? What did he tell these students? Why did he start a peace club? And why did he go viral for his speech? You'll find out in this story. But before we begin, please subscribe so you don't miss any new stories. Chapter 1. John Wick was a former military sniper who had done some horrible things during his service. When he got back home, he struggled with nightmares and flashbacks. He tried to put it all behind him and move on, but he couldn't. He knew that he needed to do something to help himself. That's when John decided to visit a school near his home. He wanted to share his story with the students and let them know what it's like to be in a war zone. John was a man of few words, didn't want to waste anyone's time. He stood up in front of the class and said, "I'm here to tell you about the pain of war." The students looked at each other in confusion. They thought he was going to tell them about exciting missions and heroic deeds. Instead, he was talking about pain. What did he mean? Was he going to tell them about his adventures? They were very curious. He continued, "You might think that war is all about bravery and glory, but it's not. War is painful, both physically and emotionally." The bell rang, but John ignored it. He had to tell these kids about the truth of war. He couldn't just leave them with the wrong idea about it. He said, "I've seen things that no one should ever see. I've seen people get killed, and I've killed people myself." The students were shocked. This wasn't what they expected at all. They thought he was going to tell them about exciting missions and heroic deeds. Instead, he was talking about death. What else could he possibly tell them? As John continued speaking, the students began to cry. Some of them had family members who had been in the military, and they knew how dangerous it can be. Others had never heard of war and couldn't imagine what it would be like. John saw their reactions and knew that he was making an impact. He kept talking to them about his experiences, both the good and the bad. He told them about the friends he had lost, the battles he had fought in, and the horrors he had witnessed. At first, the students were silent. They were in shock from hearing all this. Then they started asking questions. They wanted to know more about John and his experiences. He answered all of their questions honestly and openly. He didn't hold anything back. He told them everything they needed to know about war. Chapter 2. After his speech, John started a peace club at the school. He wanted to give the students a place where they could talk about their feelings and experiences. He also wanted to teach them how to cope with the trauma of war. The students were hesitant at first, but eventually they started opening up to John. They shared their stories with him, and he helped them to process their emotions. One day, a student named Sarah came up to John. She was crying. She said, "I didn't know that war was so painful. I'm so sorry." John put a hand on her shoulder and said, "It's okay. I'm here to help you." Sarah was one of the students who had a family member in the military. She had heard stories about war and had seen the effects it had on her family member, but she never imagined it could be so bad. She joined the Peace Club because she wanted to learn more about war and how she could help those who had experienced it. Another student, David, was a bit skeptical at first. He didn't think that a veteran could help him with his issues. but he was wrong. John was a great listener, and he was always willing to help. He taught David how to control his anger and how to deal with his anxiety. David was so grateful for John's help. He realized that he didn't have to be ashamed of his feelings and that he could control them if he tried hard enough. As the Peace Club grew in popularity, so did John's. The students loved him and respected him. They knew that he was a hero, and they wanted to learn from him. John was happy to help them, but he didn't do it for the recognition. He did it because he wanted to make a difference in their lives. But one day, John's past caught up with him. He received a letter from the military asking him to come back and serve. He was torn. He wanted to help the students, but he also had a duty to his country. In the end, he decided to stay at the school. He didn't want to leave the students alone. He knew that they needed him, and he wasn't going to let them down. The students were devastated when they heard that John was leaving. They had become so close to him, and they didn't want him to go. But they understood his duty, and they respected him for it. Before he left, he promised to come back as soon as he could. The students waited for John to return. They missed him, and they wanted to hear his stories again. Finally, after months away, he came back to the school. The students were so happy to see him. They ran up to him and gave him hugs. They asked him about his experiences, and he told them all about it. He talked about the battles he had fought in and the friends he had lost. He also told them about the bravery of the soldiers and the importance of peace. After John's speech, the students were inspired to make a difference in the world. They started a petition to end the war and raise money for the families of fallen soldiers. They also organized a peace rally and invited John to speak. The rally was a huge success, and John was interviewed by several news outlets. He became an overnight sensation, and people all over the country were talking about him. He didn't do it for the fame, but he was happy to see that his story was making a difference. The next day, John woke up to hundreds of messages on his phone. People from all over the country were thanking him for his speech. He was even contacted by the White House and invited to speak at an event. John was honored, but he had to turn down the invitation. He didn't want to be famous. He just wanted to help the students. As the years went on, John continued to visit the school and talk to the students. He became a mentor to them, and they respected him. They knew that he was a hero, and they were proud to call him their friend. The end. What did you think of this veteran? How do you think these students felt when they heard his speech? Let us know your thoughts. Subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it. We appreciate your support. Thank you for watching. Till next time.